Alright guys, and welcome to another video. Today we're doing a little investigation as to why rogues and warriors just simply aren't as bad as everyone originally thought they were going to be in TBC Classic. You know, most people expected warriors and rogues to just hit like noodles, be constantly at the bottom of the pack, not even in the middle of the pack. By the way guys, if you want to quickly support the channel, please consider subscribing, as that really does help out. But anyway, let's move on. I mean, when I first noticed something was a little strange, I was basically in Gruul with my guild. You've got to bear in mind, my guild is like a fairly casual guild, and we had a rogue, just totally topping the meters, and even in Karazhan, to be honest. And then I've noticed it on a few streams here and there, like streamers I watch, that, rogues and warriors are either at the top or at least at the middle of the pack. And don't get me wrong, these rogues, they're definitely probably spending a lot of gold on consumables to boost their DPS, and obviously they're probably very well geared, okay? But when you look at the logs, okay, you can see that they're basically on level with all the other classes, apart from obviously warlocks and hunters. So, we're talking mages and all the other DPS classes. They're kind of just there, like a typical middle of the pack DPS. And then if you look at some other ludicrous logs, sometimes they are definitely at the top. Obviously, they are nowhere near hunters because hunter DPS is just ludicrous in TBC because of the Beast Lord set. But overall, rogues and warriors are not falling significantly behind the pack like what people originally thought. So I asked Stay Down about this. He's obviously been on the channel before for the Rogue Deep Dive videos, and obviously he is the oracle of basically playing a rogue in TBC. Essentially, what he's basically told me is that glancing blows is not working as it did on private servers, okay, because private servers actually had it scripted with incorrect scripting, because they script it with old scripting. So on a lot of TBC private servers, you had classic WoW scripting for glancing blows, which means you have 40% glancing blows. But in TBC, this all changed, where weapon skills removed, expertise doesn't have any way to reduce glancing blows, and then glancing blows are just set to 25% as standard, and it's unchangeable. And what this essentially means is that in TBC Classic, melee DPS is simply being nerfed less than it did on particular private servers, which is what everyone has to go off when they're looking at how good rogues and warriors are. So it's another typical case of private servers had it wrong, and in reality on TBC Classic, things are different to what people expected. I also noticed that warriors are using the classic WoW trinket called the Badge of Swarm Guard, which has an armor penetration debuff. Okay, well, people on private servers probably didn't have access to this trinket because, from my experience of playing private servers, a lot of the time the classic WoW raids aren't even accessible. You can't even go into the portal. So I imagine a lot of people didn't have a chance to obtain this trinket, and armor penetration boosts a warrior's damage by a country mile. Obviously, you can only take logs with a pinch of salt, because there's always a little bit of smoke and mirrors when it comes to logs. For instance, I noticed that some of the warriors are getting 2 bloodlust buffs in a single fight, so what is probably happening in those particular raid groups where those high logs are achieved is that they're intentionally trying to boost the warrior's DPS with giving them particular buffs that he probably wouldn't get in a more standard realistic raiding environment like multiple bloodlusts and everything else, because we're obviously just trying to make a single warrior in the raid group look good. You also got to think about how these 25-man fights are actually very good for melee. We're talking about Gruul and Magfaradons here. So on Gruul, melee have the better availability to squeeze in some extra damage before the shatter mechanic, where it totally kind of messes up range DPS sometimes, because we have to cast spells, and then sometimes they basically will get shattered before they manage to squeeze in another cast off, whereas melee are basically constantly doing melee damage every second that they're playing the game. And then you've also got Magfaradons, which obviously has adds, which you will stack together, which gives warriors and rogues the chance to do cleave DPS, which is normally, it's going to skew the logs a little bit, because obviously rogues and warriors have pretty superior cleave DPS, where they can just go, already they can go 2,500 DPS when they are cleaving. But overall guys, I definitely think warriors and rogues are performing much better than people originally expected, and when you think about it, rogues and warriors just scale extremely well with gear, so they're just going to continue to get better and better. I definitely think by the time that the Burning Crusade is done with and we're moving on to Wrath of the Lich King, the rogue and warrior class will be seen as a serious and competitive DPS. Who knows, because if you think about it, when warriors and rogues have access to legendary weapons like the Warglaives, then they might actually start to become the actual top DPS, because again, this private server thing, where private servers always have, had glancing blows scripted incorrectly, is not in place anymore. So another thing we don't really know about is how warriors and rogues are going to perform with correct glancing blow scripting and with ludicrously powerful legendary weapons. So only time will tell. Anyway, my name is MetaGoblin. To the next video, ciao.